Okay, hello guys. Welcome to Mushroom Lab. Today is Sunday 19th. We are 2 days after my last video on the bulk substrate where we prepared it all. Sunday was also a good day for hats, so there's that. Hats are also good for hiding microphones, FYI, in case you ever wondered. I tried it on the t-shirt here and it was all rustly and stuff, so hopefully this one's all right. I'm actually quite happy to be getting microphones out because I do miss working on set recording audio. It has been too long, so looking forward to everything blowing over and getting out and making some films again. It's going to be nice. But anyway, back to the mushrooms. So this video is a continuation of the last video of me preparing bulk substrate. If you haven't watched that and you're interested, it might be a good idea to go back and watch through that. The idea of this is I want to go through the entire process from start to finish of how I'm preparing bulk substrate, inoculating them, and then fruiting the mushrooms. There were a few things in the last video that people have pointed out to me that I could do better. The main thing was hydrating the bulk substrate. So I've taken a lot of really good advice, and I've got some really good ideas of how to save myself a lot of time and effort. And I'll definitely be revisiting that at some point, so you can all see it develop and grow over time. So I think it might be interesting. So I hope that's something that you want to see. So with that aside, we're now on to the next stage. So we're in the lab as we call it. So this is we're inside a shipping container currently. You can see I have all these shelves in here that I've built, and I have an area at the back there, which is mainly used for inoculating cultures and working with bags and all of that good stuff. That big box that you can see at the back there is a laminar flow hood. I think a better term is a laminar flow cabinet actually, but that's just me. What the laminar flow cabinet does is push a sterile flow of air out over the work surface, so I've got a clean area in which to open up my cultures and inoculate bags with. So a lot of you are already going to know this, but for those of you that don't, the reason why you want your area to be clean and sterile is so that you don't introduce other spores and other organisms into your bags. So we're cultivating mycelium here, but the substrate that we're cultivating the mycelium on is also a good home for all kinds of other things that would love to make a home there. The main one being that most mushroom cultivators will have had problems with is trichoderma, which is a mould. The spores for which are just everywhere. They're floating around in the air at all times. And if they get onto your substrate, then your mycelium will be competing with that mould to establish itself on the substrate. The aim with your bulk substrate isn't to completely sterilise it. You just want to clean it enough so that your mycelium has enough of a head start so that it can establish itself before any of the other organisms are able to. So today I'm planning to inoculate these 29 blocks. We're going to do enoki, king oyster, and lion's mane. The reason I've decided to do those is I'm always kind of responding to what my customers like, and what I'm able to grow and what's yielding well and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going with today. I'm usually doing so it'd be those three. I'm trying to fruit shimeji at the moment, but I'm not having much luck with that. And also do lots of pearl and blue oyster as well. The pearl and blue oysters are my sort of staple mushrooms, with the other strains as a kind of supplement to those. So we've got some enoki, king oyster, and lion's mane. These are actually sawdust spawn, not the usual grain spawn. I'm going to do a separate video on why I've been doing that lately. But it's just been a little bit easier for me really to do sawdust spawn. So that's what we're going to use. One of these bags is enough to inoculate 10 of these bulk substrate bags down here. And so that's why we've selected 3. So I've got 29 bags. We're going to do 10 lion's mane, 10 king oyster, and 9 enoki today. 10% is a common spawn ratio that a lot of people tend to use. It seems to be a happy medium between making the most out of your spawn and also giving the mycelium a quick enough head start that it will be able to reliably colonise the bulk substrate. You can use more than 10%. I mean, you can use as much as you like. When I first started, I'd use this to make 4 or 5 bags. The more spawn that you use, the faster your bags are going to colonise, and the less chance of contamination you have. I could try and make 20 bags out of one of these, and it would probably work. It would take a lot longer, but you're increasing your chance of contamination. And the reason for that is because if you use less spawn, you give all of the other organisms that might be laying dormant. I mean, hopefully you've killed them all off in your steam sterilisation process, but there's no guarantee. You're never really fully sterilising things. The steam steriliser is more of a steam pasteuriser, really. It's like a super pasteurisation is probably the right way to describe that process. That if you leave these bags for long enough, things will wake up, and you will eventually get contamination. The idea is that you want to give your organism of choice, which in this case is this mushroom mycelium, a head start against all of the other things that might be able to grow on the substrate. And the ratio of 10% is, for me at least, and for many other growers, reliably gives the mycelium chance to establish itself on the blocks. And doing it this way, I very rarely get contamination. In fact, I don't think I've had a single bag contaminate on me in the last, like 2-3 months now. I've had the only ones that have contaminated are ones that where I've had like a hole in the bag accidentally or something like that, where I've just I've tried to carry it on anyway, but I expected those ones to contaminate. That's not to say that it won't happen again, because it happens to all of us. It's happened before and it will happen again. But there's a list of steps that I'll take you through here that can minimise your chances of contamination to the point where you can be confident that you'll be able to produce good clean blocks reliably time and time again. Right then, so let's get started. Normally now I would have the flow hood running, but it's very loud and it's going to ruin the audio. So I would, while you're doing this, I would highly recommend just running the flow hood for an hour before you even come in, so it's scrubbing the air and cleaning it. I've had it running in here for a while before anyway, so I know it's nice and clean in here. I've got my gloves on, I've got my mask on. The mask just stops droplets coming out. The mask is going to catch the droplets. The gloves, you don't need gloves. You can isopropyl your hands, but I have like skin issues and stuff, so I find it better to isopropyl alcohol the gloves. So that's going to be the first thing that we do. This is 70% isopropyl alcohol. The reason we use 70% and not like 99%, or you can't get 100%, but rather than 99% is the 70% actually takes longer to evaporate, and that's actually what you want. So you don't want to spray it on the surface and then for it to instantly evaporate, because it wants to stay on the surfaces for longer for it to do its cleaning work. So we'll spray it on the hands, thoroughly rinse it in. Go up onto your arms as well. You don't need to go too crazy, but you can see that just get every surface of the glove. And normally what I do when the flow hood is running now, I put my hands out in front of the flow hood and just wait for the isopropyl alcohol to dry. And then once it's dried, your gloves should be nice and clean, and you should be ready to work. There we go, just a little bit longer. Okay. So the next thing, you want to clean all the tools that you're going to be working with, which in this case we've got our heat sealer, we've got our knife for cutting the bags, and we've got the Sharpie for labelling the bags. So we'll give them a clean. We can use a bit of kitchen towel, which is an essential bit of gear when you're in the lab. So clean down your tools. And again, you just want to coat them. Let all that evaporate. And then while that's going, we can spray down the work surface. Give it a good clean. Pop these over here. And then actually should give the bottle a clean here as well. clean off the impulse sealer, especially the knob here, and anything that you're likely to touch often. You know, you want to give it a really, really good clean. I've actually been trying to use a little bit less isopropyl alcohol lately, just to try and conserve it, because it's in high demand at the moment during the COVID-19 crisis, and same with all the PPE stuff really. I mean, one thing I'm actually doing at the moment, I'm reusing gloves. I used to use a fresh pair every time, but you know, there's already a shortage of gloves, so you know, I've actually been reusing these, like, you know, 3 or 4 times now. Just because I feel, you know, there's a greater need out there for these. So, you know, the nurses need them more than I do. So, and it's fine. You can, you know, as long as there's not a hole in them, you can clean them down, and as long as there are no holes in them, you can, you know, you can clean them down with your isopropyl alcohol, and you're good to go. So we'll just get in behind here, get underneath. Okay, so that's your work surface, nice and clean and ready to go. Okay. So actually, we'll pop this here. That can go there. This one goes here. Let's just figure all that stuff out. So I must stress, I don't have my flow hood running now. You really, really do want to have it running the entire time while you're doing this. Again, the only reason I don't have it running is because of the audio. It's super loud. I will have to put it on eventually, but I'm gonna try and just do a couple of bags just for demonstration with it off, and then we'll get it up and running, and you know, we'll just have to live with the audio basically. So once you've got your hole, you've got your surface and everything, it's all cleaned down, all ready to go. You've got your tools ready. You know, take your time, just get everything out, get everything cleaned. So once you've started, you don't want to have to leave and go out and get stuff and bring stuff back in. You just want to get it all done in one go. So take your time, get everything prepared, and you know, it's going to be good. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your spawn, your bag of spawn. Now this bag isn't on the outside; it isn't clean. It's been stored in here, and it is very clean in here. But I'm still just going to give it a little bit of a spray down. And just make sure you get in all the little creases. And get all in there. And there you go. Okay, so once you're there, you want to break up your spawn. Now, one thing that's worth bearing in mind with these spawn bags, I make it so that there's a lot of air. You have like a lot of air here in the bag, which makes it easier to break up inside the bag, which is really important. I've bought grain spawn before in the past, and they seal it, and it's super hard to break up, and it's just really frustrating. So it's better if you can get a bag of grain spawn where it has an air pocket like this. It's really good. So we're gonna break it up, and you can just pop it down and just massage it. If you're using grain spawn, it's actually much easier to break up. This sort of spawn is a little bit harder, but it breaks up eventually. So you just you know, you really just want to get it thoroughly broken up as you can, because the finer it's broken up, the more inoculation points you're going to have in your substrate, and the faster it's going to colonize. By the way, this is king oyster spawn. King oysters are one of my favourites. I absolutely love them. Okay, so that looks about ready to me. So we're going to open the culture now. So I'm going to flick the flow hood on. I hope the audio is not too bad. My microphone here is quite close to the fan, so I have a bad feeling it's going to be horrible. But I have some noise reduction software, so we'll see what we can do. So on it goes. And I should say a few things about the laminar flow cabinet. Really, the way it works is we have the fan on the top there. That fan blows air into the cavity in the back, which is called a plenum. The idea is that you build up pressure in this box. This is a sealed box in the back. You build up pressure behind. The pressure builds up in the box and then pushes through the filter in an even way. So the filter has to have the right resistance to match the fan, so that the air, the resistance, so the air basically has to squeeze through the filter, and then it comes out in an even spread across the entire surface. I've got this one set up so that it comes out exactly 1 meter per second across the entire surface, basically. It took a little bit of tweaking, and I've had to put some like baffles in different places because we were getting like an uneven flow, but it works really well now. Something known as laminar flow, and the idea is it creates a sort of sterile force field in this whole area. So if there's any dirt like back here that kind of floats in, the air will prevent that dirt from getting into this area and dropping down into the open cultures. You know, it's a really useful thing to have. Like I did a lot of work in a glove box, and for doing agar, liquid cultures and jars and things like that, a glove box is fine. But I really struggled with the bags. You really want height with the bags, because as you'll see shortly, you need to pick these bags up and tip them, and you really need the height to work with to really do that effectively. So I highly recommend go as big as you can with your HEPA filter, with your flow hood. Bigger is better, really. So with that said, we'll get it fired up. And again, I apologise for the audio now. So there we go. Hopefully you can still hear me. We're going to get let's just get the levels right. So hopefully you can still hear me now. We're going to open this bag. Like that. There we go. Throw my hands down. Again, let them dry. Okay, so we're going to grab one of our blocks. These are one of the ones we made in the last video. We're going to pop it here. We're going to fold up the bag. Open it up. And then tip. and that goes over here. So I've just turned the flow hood off and just sealed that spawn up for a second. So it's worth having a look at the blocks here, how they've come out. You can see how they've self-sealed. You know, they form these really like rigid blocks. It's nice and dry. There's no moisture. So we have them all on the rack here, and I unload them out onto the table. I don't know if you can see that, but we have the collars, and this is what we talked about on the last video, is making sure that this bit is nice and clean and easy to work with. So this all folds up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the flow hood running. I'm going to blast through and try and talk through it. You really shouldn't talk while you're doing this, because as I'm talking, I'm breathing out over onto the cultures. So I'm going to get the flow hood running again, and I'm going to blast through a couple of bags. And I think when I get to the end, the last couple of this, I'm going to do with the flow hood off, so I can talk through it, and you know, I'll actually put a little mark on the bags, and we can see if they contaminate further down the road because they were done without the flow hood on. So, but I'm going to get the flow hood back on, and you know, we'll keep going. So I don't know if you can still hear me. I'm going to try and talk through it. I'm going to try and talk through it with the hood on. So here we go. I'm going to unseal the bag. Okay. So I hope you can see this. So I hope you can see this. We're going to fold up the gussets. We're going to fold up the bag like this. You can get your finger in here, pinch, and it should just open up nicely like that. Okay? Okay, so you've got your opening there. Then you pick up your spawn. Zip it in the bag, grab the top of the bag, again as before, follow the creases, pick it up. Now this part is important, so you want to run your fingers down so we face the opening towards the flow hood, so that the flow hood actually blows air into the bag. So we're going to run our hands along here. We're going to allow the sterile air to enter the bag. And then we're going to pinch the top shut, rock it backwards and forwards, seal it, and there we go. We've got a good solid seal on that there now. Now you want to shake the bag, so you press it down, shake it up, and then you've just got to shake it around. Break it all up. Get your label on, and away it goes. Make sure you get the right label and the right date as well. So I'm going to blast through a few more of these, and then the last two, we're going to turn the flow hood off so I can talk you through it. Right, so I have 2 bags of king oysters left to do. I've turned the flow hood off. Really not a good idea. This is just so I can talk you through the process. So we're going to grab one of our bags, pop it down on the desk, roll up the top. You can put your finger in the side, grab the bag, open it up. It should stand up nice and easy. Be careful not to get your hands inside the bag too much. Leave yourself a nice opening. Pick up your spawn. I like to leave this side closed, so I grab it from there. Try and keep your arms and everything away from the openings in the bags. Pick it up. Pop it in. Now you'll get a feel for how much to tip in. Some people like to use a scoop. I just prefer to tip it like that because it's less tools, it's less things that you need to clean. You get a good feel for it, and you know it seems to be quite good for me. So you want to close up the top of your bag here, and then pick it up, bring it here. Now I'm not sure. Usually, the flow hood will be running here at this point. In fact, I will just switch it on once I've explained this. But the air is coming out this way, so we want to fill this bag up with sterile air from the HEPA filter. This is why we have the sealer face this way, and we have the opening of the bag face this way when we open it up. So I'm just going to turn the HEPA filter on. We're going to open the bag, but the idea is you'll see in a second. You've probably already seen it in the last view, but you want to run your hands along here. There is a technique to it. You run your hands along here, and you can kind of pull the middle out, and pulling the middle out will draw the sterile air into the bag, and you can pinch the top and seal it down. But I'm going to switch the HEPA filter on very quickly just to do that. So we go along like this, we open the bag, just pinch it at the corners, get the air in, and you can see, I think at this point I can turn it off. I can turn it off at this point. So now we've got sterile air in the bag, we've got a nice clean flat surface to seal it there. So I've got this set to 9. We have the sealer set all the way up to 9. Then we push down on the sealer, and you want to put weight down on it. When I first started doing it, I didn't put much weight down on it, and it wasn't sealing well enough. So not a lot, but you want to put a little bit of weight down on it and just rock it ever so slightly, and that seems to get you a good solid seal. So let's do that. So we go down, give it a little rock, and then off, and then that should be good. Okay, that looks like a good seal to me. And you can test your seal by, straight away. It's not even cooled down yet, and that's a really solid seal, easy peasy. And the reason we've been able to do that is because you can probably see the top of that. There's nothing. There's no substrate there. It's dry. It's flat. There's no warping. I mean, it's not completely straight. Look, you can see it's folded in on itself a little bit, but it's good enough. It's close enough, and we've got a really good strong seal there. And you want a good strong seal because you really want to give the bags a good shake. And if the seal's not good enough, I have had it where I've not got the seal properly, and I've been shaking the bag, and guess what? The seal's bloody burst open. I've had sawdust go everywhere in the lab. It is just the worst thing ever. You just don't want that to happen. So make sure your seal's good. And so once you've got a good strong seal, you want to break up the substrate at the bottom. So you've got your spawn there, you've got your substrate at the bottom. You want to mix this spawn thoroughly through the substrate. So you imagine each little bit of sawdust here acts as a tiny little inoculation point, and we could leave it like that. But it would take a lot longer to colonise because it has further to travel. If the spawn is spread evenly throughout the substrate, it's going to colonise much quicker. So we're going to just lean on it, break it apart. You can just go through, massage it through, and then you just got to shake it. And now it should be worth mentioning now as well. This is why we fill the bag up with sterile air. First of all, just so it's got clean air on the inside. But you could seal it with a lot less air in it, but you wouldn't be able to shake it as well. The more air you're able to get into the bag, the easier you're going to be able to shake it. So I can really just, I can pour it. There's plenty of air. It's nice and easy. Give it a good old shake. And now the spawn is mixed thoroughly throughout the bag. Now, if there was less air, if you didn't have that air cushion in there, you can't shake it, because it's like I don't know if that you can see that, but you try shaking it and it's all compressed together and it's got no room to you've got no room to shake it. So yeah, there you go. I tend to just give it a little press because this is king oysters now, and we want to encourage pinning from the top and not the sides. So it's good to have a nice even surface to encourage a nice even pin set on the top, hopefully. This is a work in progress for me, actually. I do struggle to get kings to pin on the top. They always like to pin on the side, but that's another story. So once it's done, obviously, you give it your label. I like to do my labels on the filter. You can do them wherever you want. I like it on the filter just because it's nice and easy to see, and it doesn't prevent the gas exchange. So in this case, we are king, which is short for king oyster, obviously. Put your date on there, and that's all you need to know. You've got the strain and the date, and then that goes over onto the rack. So we've got one more king oyster to do, so we'll do that quickly. So here we go. Now remember, the flow hood is off here. It should definitely be on. This is just so I can talk you through it. I'm sure these bags will be fine. Actually, what I will do is I'm just going to put a little note just to say that the flow hood was off. So flow hood off, and that way we can have a look at these bags in a few weeks' time, and see if they manage to survive. My guess is that they'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so you don't have to. Well, you can if you want to, but I don't think you have to. You don't have to spray your hands every single time. You usually tend to get a sense, like the more you do this, you get a sense of how recently you've sterilised your hands with the isopropyl alcohol. And you'll just kind of do it, every few minutes. Generally, I like to clean everything down in between each strain. Once you finish the spawn bag, give everything a good clean, and then keep going. So we'll do this last bag. Roll your top up. Now, there's probably different ways of folding the bags as well. This is just one way I've found to get. It doesn't always work, but there you go. You can just pinch it in a way. Now it's stood up nice and straight. You've got a nice, sufficient opening on the top there to get you spawning. So again, you pick it up. You want to keep. There's a sort of technique to it, but you want to sort of keep your arms away. At all times. You want to keep clean stuff towards the filter, and you have a state of anything dirty, like a person that's covered in bacteria and all sorts of stuff, wants to stay this side of your open cultures. That way, the force field of your laminar flow cabinet is able to protect the open cultures from anything that's dirty on the dirty side, which is over here. So let's get this one inoculated. In it goes. There we go, lovely stuff. Pinch it, pick it up. Now, I will have to turn the flow hood on again here. So we want to fill this bag with sterile air. We've got air coming in this way, so it's sort of closed now. But we're gonna just run our hands along, create an opening, and then the air will rush into the bag through the filter. So here we go. Filter's off again now, so I'm going to pinch that just to try and keep it clean. So we've got the bag's full of air. You've got a nice cushion of air inside the bag. So again, we've got the sealer set to 9, that's the highest setting, and we're going to push down, and we're going to rock gently back and forward, not pushing down with a lot of force, but just a bit, Then we look at our seal, we check it. I can see that looks pretty clean, pretty strong. Then we give it a test, push down. You should be able to push it pretty hard without popping it. And that looks like a good seal to me. So then we're going to break apart the substrate, loosen it up, find your chunks, and then in terms of shaking it, there's a technique like all these things, and you will just get used to it, but I tend to sort of pick it, grab it by the sides and just try and turn it over. Grab it by the corners, shake it all down from the edges, roll it over, pick it up from the different corners, different sides, turn it upside down, just shake the crap out of it basically. Distribute that spawn evenly through the bag. And give your king oyster mycelium the best chance to colonise your lovely substrate. So there we go. That's that one done. And again, this is king oyster, so the intention is we're hopefully going to be fruiting the kings from the top of this substrate inside the bag. So the most success I seem to have had is when this the top is nice and even. You want a nice, even, smooth surface, and it seems to encourage pinning better that way. This is specific to king oysters. You don't want to press down. I'm not trying to compact it down here. You want it to be nice and loose and fluffy. If you compact it down too much, the mycelium is going to struggle to get through the substrate. That looks pretty good to me. So we label it, strain, and then the date, and then it goes off onto the rack up over here. There we go. Okay, lovely. So now that's one bag of spawn out of 3. So you're always going to get a little, especially with grain spawn. It's actually, it's less messy. Using the sawdust spawn, it does tend to be a little bit messier. But generally, just between each bag, just give it a quick little wipe down. You can put this, any debris you can just put back into your empty spawn bag down here. Quick spray of your surface, especially considering I've not had the flow hood on while I'm talking. Clean your tools. Good. Okay, so next we're going to do lion's mane. So again, get your spawn bag, and now when isopropyl alcohol is actually really nasty stuff. So really, I guess you should have. There's probably a better mask that you can use to protect your lungs from this stuff. What I'm doing, which I don't really recommend, is when I spray the bags here now, this is where I have the most chance of inhaling it. So before I do it, I tend to take a deep breath, spray the bag, and then hold my breath while the isopropyl alcohol is settling. So there we go. Okay, so now we've cleaned that, we want to break up the spawn. Should break up nice and easy. And again, having air in the bag really helps with this. Alright, that looks good to me. So I'm going to get the flow hood on again. We're going to blast through these, and I think the last few, I'll get the camera a bit closer up so you can get a closer view of what I'm doing with the sealer and whatnot on the last couple. So here we go. Alright, okay, so here's an example of a bag that didn't quite seal. I'm quite glad that happened actually. So I put it through the sealer and I pressed down and all the air's escaping out of it. No! I can't see any substrate coming through, but if you look at the top of this one, it's come out just like a little bit warped. It's come out a little bit warped. It seems like the seal's gone pretty good, but it's just, I think it's on the folds here maybe. So, you know, I'm sure it's going to be fine, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run it through the sealer one more time. Just to be sure. But this is a really good example now of, let's just see. Yeah, there's only a little bit of air left in it now. This is a good example of how hard it is now to shake this bag. Now there's no air in it. You can see that there's like, all the air's basically been squeezed out. So, you know, look, I'm like, oh, nightmare. It's just impossible to thoroughly mix it through. I mean, if you saw the last one, how easy it was to just shake, you know, now, it's gonna, you know, not gonna be so great. So I'll tell you what I'm gonna do on that. Is an experiment. This is a less well shaken bag. So we're going to put a little mark on it, no shake, so we can see the difference. So put a little mark on there. It did get a little bit of a shake before I sealed it, but nowhere near as good as the other ones. So I've got a little mark on there, and we can maybe have a look at that in a couple of weeks' time and see how different it is to the others. So that's the lion's mane inoculated. 10 bags. We've got 9 left that are going to be Inoki. I'll bring the camera over and we'll get a bit of a closer view on how you know, how I'm handling the bags and how we're sealing and stuff like that. I'm also going to do a little bit of an experiment where we're going to do a side-by-side test of one bag that was thoroughly shaken and one bag that wasn't thoroughly shaken. Now, the only way that I think I'm going to be able to do it is I'm going to have to inflate one of the bags before it gets inoculated, give it a shake, then cut it, and then inoculate from the top, and then just leave it and don't shake it. And then we can leave the two side by side, so you can see just how much quicker the colonisation happens after shaking the bag. So let's get the Inoki spawn out. Still rolling. Still rolling. Alright, so this bag, we're going to do something a little bit different. It's not sealed very well, so what I've done is before inoculating it, I got it out, I shook the substrate up, I broke it apart, and then I've just inoculated it from the top, and I haven't shaken it. So the spawn, don't know if you can see the spawn. I mean, it really didn't. After I broke up the substrate, it's got all up there, and you can see the seal. This is what you want to avoid, basically. But this is fine for demonstration purposes. The spawn is just sat on the top there, and it's going to have to. It will inoculate the top, and it's going to have to travel all the way down the bag, which will take a lot longer than if it was distributed throughout the bag evenly. But we're going to leave this one, put it side by side with another one, and use it for demonstration purposes. So we'll label it up. and we'll say this is no shake. Wasn't really the best strain to do this with, to be honest, but I'm sure it'll work just fine. I just sort of, it's just an in the moment kind of thing, so you know, you get what you're given. So I've got 2 more bags to do. I think for the last 2, I'm going to leave the flow hood off and just talk you through the process one more time. And I think we're going to bring the camera a little bit close. Okay, so we bring out the bag here. Can you see that? Yeah, I think so. So we're going to roll the top up, pop your finger in here, and then it should just pop back open again. Like, can you see the top of the bag there? Just about. Let's move it back just a touch. Move it back over here. There we go. And now I want to load it in from the top like this. I've got 2 bags left, so we'll go half and half on what we got left here. Now I'm probably, with the flow hood off, I'm probably breathing all sorts of horrible stuff into the bags here. So we shall see how well these ones do. We'll just turn it on quickly to fill the bag up. Okay, so now we're going to shake. So you can see we just break apart the substrate, and I'll try and do this without making the camera shake too much. You can see, and then just, you know, break it apart and give it a real good shake. You know, get it all down from the corners, all out from the corners, and then you want to thoroughly distribute the spawn through the substrate. So then you do your label. I have to excuse my horrible handwriting. There we go. And so we've got one more. This is the last bag of the batch today. That's good because I'm quite tired. I'm looking forward to going home, chilling out for a bit. So load it in. Lovely stuff. And then this time we're going to leave the flow hood on, and I'm going to talk you through the sealer. So, because there is a technique to this. So where that is there, let's just make sure. Can you see that okay? No, let's bring the camera over here. Okay. So there we go. So you bring it over. So you pick it up, you grab it by here, and then you can bring it over, and because you haven't broken up like this part of the substrate yet, it should just sit flat. And then I know I've explained this before, but it's you know, it's worth repeating. I think you've got the air coming, the air's flowing out this way. It's not at the moment because the flow hood's not on. It should be on, but the air is coming out this way. And what you want to do is fill up this bag with the air that's coming through the HEPA filter. So the way we do that is, there's a technique to it, but I run my hands inside the gussets here, and then the air pressure will, you'll feel the bag start to inflate, and you just lightly pinch the middle out, and it will fill up, and then you bring your hands around, pinch the top, and then seal. So I'm just going to turn the filter on just to fill the bag up. The air's on, so we can do this. Gently pinch it. Do it. So filter off. So then we want to line the bag up, so we've got a nice flat surface there, nice flat dry surface for the sealer to work. So then we pop it down, put your weight on it, rock it back and forwards a little bit, and then there's your seal. So let's have a look. As you can see, let's grab it here. You can see it's a nice, good, clean seal all the way across. So once you've got that, then you can test it. You can push down on it. That's that is not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. So now you can shake the crap out of it now at this point, basically. So you lay it down, push it like this, squeeze through. You just break it apart, let it go down. And again, we inflated the bag with air, so it was easy to mix the substrate, basically. So you can grab it by the corners, and you can see it all freely tumbles. Tumbles is the right word. It freely tumbles in the bag. And grab it from the corners. Make sure like you could easily shake it and stuff, like it'll get trapped in the corners. Like just make sure you get that all the way through. Because then if you don't get the corners, you'll end up with a fully colonised bag, but you'll have a gap here where it's not colonised, and that will be a risk point for contamination. So try and make sure to mix it as thoroughly as you can. It's really important. And hopefully the other bag that we've done, where we didn't mix it, is gonna illustrate that point well. So there you go, just try and get it nice and even. Okay, there we go. So label up your bag. And that is the batch inoculated and done for me today. Happy days. So that goes on the rack over here. So let's move the camera back over here again one more time. So now I'm just going to have a little clean. I did have a brush that I was using to brush out the bits that you always get, a few little bits in the grill of your flow hood here. I've got a little brush, but it's not here with me at the moment. But you want to just get in there and just brush your stuff out, because anything that stays in here, like if you've got a piece, it'll come back a week later. If that's still there, then it might have spores. It might be giving off spores and blowing out over the over your work surface. So I just give it a nice little clean down. Just get rid of all your debris. I'll come in here and give it a hoover later as well. That's one thing. You want to keep it really clean in here at all times. Because like if your open bag of spawn, and I mean I've taken a risk here today by having I've had an open bag of spawn here with the filter off as I've been talking, so I'm sure it will be fine, but I have risked contaminating some of the bags there today, so I don't recommend doing that, but it's just just for the purposes of explaining things. That is why I've done it. So yeah, we just get rid of all your debris. I usually this stuff, any debris that I'm cleaning up and like used tissues and stuff like that, you put them in my used bags that I keep down here. And I know I read in the Stamets book, he said you should never have a bin or keep any waste in the lab, and I agree. I think that's like a good advice, but I don't really know where else to put it. I just any waste, it just goes in here. Clean it all up and just take it out straight away. It's that simple. Keep your lab nice and clean. That's the way to do it. So now that all my bags are done, I'm just going to load them in here onto the shelves. I tend to try and keep everything nice and organised. So there is our no shake bag. So what I'm going to do is actually we'll pop these two next to each other. So that one's been shaken, That one's not been shaken, so we'll leave these next to each other here, and yeah, we'll keep an eye so you can see the difference. Right, these will all go down here. So that's the batch done. It's not the only way you can do it. There's there's lots of other techniques, and everybody kind of does things a little bit differently. Like this is just how I've ended up doing it. It's a pretty good setup. I can blast through a batch now in a batch of like 30 or 40 bags in about in about an hour. I can do it now, like an hour and a half. If I'm doing like lots of different strains and stuff like that. So I generally don't have any problems with sealing the bags. Everything gets thoroughly shaken, and I think it's a good setup really. But like I said, there's a bunch of other ways of doing things, and as with my last video, there may very well be some unexpectedly stupid thing that I haven't realised that I'm doing. So if there is anything like that you've seen me do, I'm sure you will anyway. But please let me know. I've got thick skin, I can take it, and I'm up for improving. I want to get as good as I can possibly be at this whole mushroom cultivation stuff. I'm really enjoying making these videos. It's a lot of fun for me. I'm really enjoying sharing the process with you all. So once again, to all the people on the the UK Mushroom Grower Facebook group, thanks for all your support and all your advice and your wisdom and everything. You're all great. It's a classy forum, a classy group of people. It's a good conversation. And to me, it's a sanctuary away from all of the toxic nonsense that you usually find on the internet. So yes, so keep it classy, people, and I shall see you on the next one. Much love. Bye.